Thank you very much for joining this session to introduce a little bit more about Group IB's manifesto and mission when it comes to cybersecurity and the research that we do. My name is Nick Palmer. I lead Group IB's global business at Group IB. I've been with the company for the last 6.5 years. And through that time, we've done a lot of very exciting investigations and researches into cyber criminals that actually impact our clients. What is it that makes Group IB so special? To me, and I think to many others at Group IB, we wake up every morning in order to fight cyber crime. I think everyone at Group IB really has zero tolerance when it comes to cyber crime and cyber criminals in general. And this is really what the foundation and the manifesto, what Group IB is all about. And that's to research, investigate, and eventually provide the information to law enforcement necessary to actually disrupt cybercrime. A lot of companies these days are really great at detecting and responding to incidents, but I think they're missing a key link in the investigation chain when it comes to cybersecurity, and that's the investigation and attribution piece, and of course, collaborating with law enforcement to actually make a disruption when it comes to the cybercrime world. And that's what we'll talk a little bit about today is how Group IB actually invests in this area of cybersecurity and what really drives us to get out of the bed in the morning. Looking at Group IB from a glance, the history, really the company was founded in 2003 as an investigation and forensics bureau. So for a very long time, I would say that Group IB simply investigated and tried to help different businesses that experienced cyber events respond to them. So a lot of forensics, a lot of investigations, a lot of attribution towards cyber criminals that were actually causing our customers harm. And we actually didn't create tool sets until much later in the Group IB journey into the 2014, 2015 period. And I think that leads into a lot about why we do what we do at Group IB and how our solutions have developed. And a lot of times when we develop solutions at Group IB, it's for two reasons. One, to make the jobs of our clients easier, and that's to put tools in their hands to actually respond to incidents, investigate incidents, etc. And the second is to develop those tools for ourselves to make the analysts' lives easier that are actually doing investigation, cyber threat intelligence work, or incident response procedures. And as with most of the products at Group IB, that's why we actually developed the solutions that we now have commercialized within the business. Very important when you're investigating and attributing cybercrime is actually working very closely with law enforcement. And we've developed incredible relationships with both Europol and with Interpol, and we work very closely with them. Frequently, I speak on the EC3 advisory board for cybersecurity, as does Dmitry Volkov, our CTO. And this type of interaction with global law enforcement can actually help to disrupt cybercrime in a major way. Then you see in 2018, we were listed within SWIFT trusted partners to actually conduct different audits. And in 2019, we actually made the transition to become a Singaporean-based cybersecurity company with our headquarters now officially placed in Singapore. And this year, in 2020, almost 2021, we just opened our new European headquarters in Amsterdam. Now, as we continue on in our 17-year journey, we'll continue to do investigations and response, as well as support our customers with different products that Group IB offers, but now on a much more localized level. So from a global expansion strategy, we have both a nano office and a full office strategy. And that essentially means that our global rollout strategy is designed around putting local boots on the ground. And once we hit different financial targets, building a full office and parachuting experts in from each one of Group IB's technical disciplines in order to investigate and disrupt cybercrime for good. I think one of the other things that really makes Group IB so special and so different than other cybersecurity companies and other people who provide threat intelligence is really the actor-centric focus when it comes to cybersecurity. At Group IB, we believe that every cyber incident, every cyber event is conducted by a real person. And this person has both infrastructure and behavior that's trackable and able to be investigated and eventually collaborate with different law enforcement to disrupt this cybercrime. That's often why we are the first to identify new threat actors that are targeting different businesses around the world, is because we have the capability, we have the tools to track these actors in real time, look for new campaigns that they create, and investigate them on an ongoing basis, revealing new TTPs and information about these threat actors. We were actually the first to report on Silence, a major financially motivated cyber group that attacked the financial services sector, the first to report on Cobalt, which was a huge and highly activated Russian-speaking group that targeted the financial sector, as well as Money Taker. And those just are a few of many examples that Group IB has. This actor-centric focus when it comes to cybersecurity has seen Group IB landed on such research reports as Forrester, Gartner, and IDC for both our incident response capabilities, our threat intelligence and attribution capabilities, and also our fraud hunting platform and research in the anti-fraud area. Now let's take a look at all of the different technologies that we've built at Group IB. As I mentioned, each and every one of these has a very actor-centric focus. So we focus on specific threat actors that target our customers in all of these areas of both product and service. So the service, essentially from the battlefield, firsthand knowledge that we've gathered from researching cybercrime for the last 17, almost 18 years now. And in the services catalog, you can see different components. You can see investigations. We have a team of over 20 investigation specialists at Group IB, and their pure job is to actually investigate and attribute cybercrime. So to find a real identity to the people that are conducting cybercrime. We have many public cases that I'll talk about a little bit later. We also have an incident response team, over 20 incident response analysts that are standing by the ready to go out and do incident response and help organizations to respond to incidents that they're experiencing. We have incident response specialists all through different offices, from Amsterdam to Singapore to Vietnam, and we'll be putting additional incident response specialists in local regions that we're investing in. And because of the incident response and investigations capabilities, we also have different services that we offer. So for example, compromise assessment service. This can be an excellent service that can give the customer a broad understanding of what type of security gaps do they have in their internal control systems, where do they have to make investments in terms of the benchmark that we give them, or is there already a threat actor in their network that they actually have to have remediated from it. We also provide different security and risk assessments. So we have an offensive security team at Group IB that provides intelligent-led offensive security tests. So this team collects information about all the recent TTPs that we gather from investigating cybercrime and applies those to different external perimeters of customers we want to work with to see if they're ready to defend against real attackers, both their technology stack as well as their people. So we have a team of over 15 offensive security experts that are dedicated to this discipline. We also have our own CERT team. Our CERT is CERT GIB. If you don't know what a CERT is, Computer Emergency Response Team. And essentially this CERT is responsible for a number of different things. One is to provide a managed threat hunting and response service to our customers that use our threat hunting framework. And this group is also authorized by Trusted Introducer and a member of FIRST Association to both identify and remediate any websites that are hosting phishing or malware content in real time with our own hands. Actually, many other anti-phishing companies don't actually remove phishing with their own hands. They simply send takedown notifications to different CERT teams like Group IB, whereas from a competitive advantage standpoint, Group IB is doing this themselves. Then we get into some of Group IB's product. Group IB has different products, as you can see, 4 listed here on your page. We have digital risk protection. So digital risk protection is essentially the solution that helps identify all of the risks to someone's brand in an online perspective. This could be counterfeit goods sales for companies like Nike or Adidas. This could be intellectual property violations. maybe distribution of movie content for Fox or Disney, whom we work with, that shouldn't be distributed on torrent sites or other sites, or perhaps domain squatting or other websites that simply use the brand of our customers that shouldn't be. And we actually have a team of anti-fraud specialists, over 50, that work together with hosting providers, registrars, contact the owners of these websites, and remove them in quick order. Really a complex and complete solution for identifying anything related to the digital risk of a company that we work with. Then we have something called fraud hunting platform. Now, our fraud hunting platform is a unique solution that helps to identify fraud at the earliest stages. And of course, it integrates all of the important information that we collect from a threat intelligence standpoint. That could be new tools that we see for sale on underground forums for conducting fraud. And our fraud hunting platform team, our anti-fraud analysts, will actually take all of this information to make sure that we're upgrading our solution in real time, and we can defend against some of the most recent online fraud activities from threat actors. The solution is both to protect websites and mobile applications on the client side. So a JavaScript snippet that is installed in the source code of each page that we want to protect, and a mobile SDK to help identify anything related to different fraud events that can happen on web applications or mobile applications. This could be brute force attacks, it could be account takeover activity. Basically, any web portal with important information behind it is going to experience fraud, and this is the solution that can help the customers to prevent against it. Then we have something called threat hunting framework. And threat hunting framework is really designed to do a few things, both protect the client's network from advanced attacks that we investigate and identify in all different areas. I think it's no longer a question of when an attacker is going to get inside a network. There's no solution in the market that can completely prevent an attacker from doing so. The main question is, can you identify the behavior of an advanced threat actor in your network at early stages in order to conduct the remediation necessary to remove them from the internal network? And that's what threat hunting framework is all about, both defending the network from advanced attacks, trying to keep the bad guys out, but also to identify the behaviors of escalation of different privileges, moving laterally in the network, and other types of TTPs that advanced threat actors are known for. And this is a very complex and comprehensive solution involving a number of different components, from TDS sensor. This is a network traffic analysis solution to look at malicious network traffic at the network level. And we also have an OT sensor, so our sensor industrial, in order to monitor OT and IT environments as well. We have our Polygon solution. This is our malware detonation solution. This ensures that any malware is actually detonated in an isolated environment, even if that malware has built-in anti-evasion, anti-sandbox evasion techniques built inside of it. Our malware detonation solution essentially makes sure that that malware is detonated and the information that we can collect from that is gathered. Then we also have our hunt point solution, which is designed to monitor the behaviors on the endpoint level, different processes that are created, what's changed on the device. And it's also used for incident response procedures to respond to incidents, isolate hosts in the event that there is one, etc. We also have Group IB's threat intelligence and attribution solution. This is a very special solution that provides any and all information necessary about different threat actors, their TTPs, data that's been stolen and posted on underground forums, communications on underground forums, identification of control panels of different botnets to identify credentials that have been compromised, and perhaps save money on fraudulent events for different online banking customers, as well as potentially identify compromised hosts within the corporate network at early stages. Basically anything that you wanted to know about threat actors and their activities, threat intelligence and attribution is the solution to do that. Within threat intelligence and attribution, as well as all of our other products, one of the key missions of Group IB is actually to put in the hands of the analysts we work with different tools to help them to investigate and attribute cybercrime. And we've done that, and I'll show you later on in some of the training, different tool sets that we've released to actually do this for our customers. Focusing our attention specifically to investigations, we've done over 1,200 different successful investigations from this team of 20 that I mentioned previously, and we've managed to save over $300 million as a result of efforts from this team. Some of the public cases you can search on Google, some of the non-public cases I can tell you privately, but this team is really a phenomenal team of experts that uses different proprietary technologies to help investigate and attribute cybercrime, and a really individual approach to each investigation that we take on. Last and most certainly not least important of this is to collaborate with law enforcement globally. Our investigations team works with law enforcement on the European perspective, Middle East perspective, Asian Pacific markets, together with Interpol, Europol, Indonesian Cyber Police, CSA, NCFTA, DCPCU, the London Police Force, and many other organizations around the world to actually disrupt cybercrime. And I would say that I can't say the same for many other threat intelligence companies, that they're working as closely with law enforcement as doing as much as Group IB is in this case. So what kind of investigations do we actually conduct? Really anything and everything related to a cybersecurity standpoint. It could be related to online fraud, where different fraud occurred, money was sent where it shouldn't be, maybe in a BEC scam. Could be related to insider attacks where there's been data leakage and our incident response team needs to come in and find out exactly what happened. Could be related to data theft, where cyber criminals have used different botnets to compromise credentials of customers. It could be related to the owners of those botnets. It could be related to absolutely anything that our clients would like to investigate. All we need is data points. And then we use our proprietary tool sets and our investigations team in order to identify the real identities of individuals that matter from an investigation standpoint. Focusing our attention to the digital forensics and incident response standpoint, there's a number of different components about what we actually do. So we collect digital evidence, and why we do that is because the digital evidence is actually important from a law enforcement perspective. It needs to be collected in the proper way in certain jurisdictions in order to be valid in the court of law, and our incident response team has a lot of different capabilities in this respect. We also do a lot of malware analysis. So we have a team of reverse engineers that will take complicated malware samples to identify different proprietary tools and techniques that are used by advanced threat actors. I can't stress how important it is actually to have a DFIR team at Group IB, because they're often the first to see new TTPs from advanced threat actors that have never been before detected by other cybersecurity vendors. And this has been proven time and time again by our research in Cobalt, our research around Silence, our research around Money Taker, and many other threat actors that we've reported on within our threat intelligence and attribution standpoint. And of course, we do digital forensics in order to save our clients, you know what. When there's an incident, they need accurate and complete examination of what happened, how did it happen, and when can we be back up and running for our business. The incident response team is one of the best in the world. I'll put them alongside your Semantics, your PwCs, Deloitte, anyone you want to put them next to. You should have complete faith in our digital forensics and investigations team in order to find out what happened, who conducted that activity, and get the business up and running as quickly as possible. So Group IB's real fundamental mission, we have zero tolerance when it comes to cybercrime. That's why I wake up in the morning, and hopefully if you stay with us long term, that's why you're going to wake up in the morning as well, to coordinate with your customers, to coordinate with law enforcement, and to coordinate with our technical teams in order to investigate and disrupt this type of cybercrime. And none of our disruption of cybercrime could be possible without our partnerships with different international law enforcement organizations, and Europol and Interpol are two of the best that we have. In 2015, Group IB became an official partner of Europol. We signed an MOU with them, and we've been interacting with them at a phenomenal rate ever since. As I mentioned previously, I sit on the advisory board for EC3, as well as Dmitry Volkov, and we're both constantly sharing our knowledge, talking with different large enterprise businesses in the EU and policing organizations about what new threats are out there and how to actually defend against them. And of course, providing the information about different threat actors that we see out there that have an impact to the EU customer base and citizens. Then in 2017, you can see again, we signed an MOU with Interpol, and we've been conducting similar activity with both of these organizations since the foundation of those MOUs, and they're two very, very critical relationships for Group IB. And so what does Group IB actually do with local and international law enforcement? You can see, Interpol, Europol, BKM, from Germany, gendarmerie from France, and Indonesian cyber police, many others that we are working with. But what actually things do we do? So a lot of information exchange, so supplying information about cyber criminals and their TTPs. This is very useful so that the law enforcement can continue to conduct their investigations, but also to provide information about perhaps businesses that have been infiltrated by different cyber criminal groups, etc. Another one is actually exchange of information related to cyber criminal infrastructure. This could include command and control infrastructure, phishing infrastructure, malware tools, etc. This type of data exchange with law enforcement has a lot of give and return in the relationship. And if you provide an IP address of a command and control server to law enforcement, oftentimes we can get a forensics image of that infrastructure and continue our investigations to identify victims and potentially identify and attribute the cyber criminal activity that's being conducted. We also do a lot of expert training and advice as well to law enforcement. We usually do this pro bono to increase our collaboration with these groups. We also have provided digital forensics evidence. Our forensics experts actually conduct incident response and then provide that evidence in a way that is in coordination with local laws and registrations. Our DFIR team also acts as expert witnesses who go into court sometimes in order to provide evidence about what happened, what we identified, and when. And of course, speaking at their various events, a lot of fun to go to these events with coppers and ex-coppers. They really have some of the best networks in the world, and I encourage you to get close with the law enforcement in your area. So factually, what events can I actually share with you that we've done with law enforcement? I'll share some over a pint privately, but some are public that we can actually share. One of them was Operation Night Fury. This was an investigation of different JavaScript sniffer operators. So JavaScript sniffer is a piece of malicious code that's injected into a website, usually an e-commerce website. And when that code is in the website, it siphons off payment card details of online shoppers that are trying to buy goods. And then cards are reproduced, information sold on underground forums, etc. And we conducted an investigation together with Interpol, the Indonesian police, as well as the Singapore police, in order to actually investigate and disrupt a JavaScript sniffer operations. These JavaScript sniffer operators, that's a mouthful, and can sometimes earn as much as $2 million per year. So it's quite a significant disruption of this type of activity and a growing threat for a lot of businesses around the world. We also had Operation Falcon, which was a recent arrest of a BEC criminal operating group in Nigeria. And this was done in coordination with Interpol, Group IB, and a number of other agencies as well in order to disrupt this BEC ring located in Nigeria. Then we also did a carding action with EC3 this year, together with EC3, the DCPCU, which is a member of the London Police. Group IB provided about 90,000 pieces of credit card information to Visa, MasterCard, American Express. So this data could then be eliminated from a use of fraud perspective. And actually, by providing this 90,000 payment card details, we were able to save European banks and citizens over 40 million euros during a 2-week operation. So it was a very successful case. What was really interesting to me as well is that throughout this case, obviously, these payment schemes receive details from other vendors already. And 88% of all of the credit card information that Group IB provided was unique. And this tells me that the sources of where Group IB identifies this information, having an actor-centric focus on cybersecurity, focusing on the actors, focusing on their infrastructure, this has a direct impact on the uniqueness of the data that we collect, because other vendors can't get to these sources. And because of that, we're able to provide unique intelligence and make a difference when it comes to actually providing information about threat actors that target different businesses. A few more details about the carding action. You can see that it was led by EC3. There was law enforcement from Italy, Hungary, supported by the UK and Europol as well. And as I mentioned, the operation was designed to mitigate and prevent financial losses to organizations and cardholders throughout the EU. And you can find a link to the press release to read a few more details about it, but more to come on that later. Operation Falcon, as I mentioned, was a year-long joint investigation with Group IB and Interpol in order to identify and eliminate a BEC gang that was responsible for compromising at least 500,000 government and private sector companies and more than 150 companies. They also had different tool sets in their repertoire, like Agent Tesla, Locky, Azerold. So it was a rather sophisticated gang of BEC compromise that was arrested through cooperation with Interpol and the Nigerian police force to disrupt these operators. Operation Fury, as I mentioned, this group leveraged JavaScript sniffers in order to steal payment card details from at least 570 different e-commerce websites worldwide, and through coordination with the Indonesian cyber police, Interpol, as well as the Singapore police force, we were able to identify and attribute these individuals, and these policing organizations disrupted this group. You can see the link to the press release, as well as the victims, well, I wouldn't say victims, I would say criminals that were arrested, and the results of that investigation on that press release. So in addition to law enforcement, what else is very important for Group IB's global mission of having zero tolerance to cybercrime? For us, this is really coordination with different ISACs, so information sharing associations worldwide. And some of the major ones that we work with are FIRST, FSISAC, Anti-Phishing Working Group, and of course, different educational institutions as well. With FIRST and Trusted Introducer, of course, our CERT team is one of the major contributors in this respect. Our CERT team has more than 18 experts in our forensics laboratory, 25 experts in our threat intelligence team. I think there's over 30 now, actually, and more than 20 in our investigations department as well. And our CERT team actively coordinates through FIRST with other CERTs around the world. So when there's actually a phishing page hosted in .ru, .rf, or .su domain spaces, for example, the US CERT might reach out to Group IB and actually to remove that phishing infrastructure from the internet. And we do that with our own hands, because we're actually the authorized and trusted CERT by Trusted Introducer to actually do that. So in addition to CERT, FSISAC is one of the most, I would say, critical organizations that we work with to share information about threats to the financial sector, to reach these banks very quickly with the information, and not only banks, insurance companies, and other financial services companies. So FSISAC is an organization created in the United States by the United States government in order to collect and disseminate information about threats to the financial sector in hopefully near time, in real time, excuse me. And Group IB is an export resource member of the FSISAC. So that means essentially that they reach out to us when they need additional help from our analysts to investigate or potentially present on an upcoming or emerging threat to the financial sector. So very critical organization for us to collaborate with in order to share information quickly about threats to the financial sector to reach them as quickly as possible. The Anti-Phishing Working Group is another critical organization that we collaborate with. This group focuses specifically on disrupting phishing activity. They have excellent information exchanges as well about different e-crime that takes place, and it's an organization that we certainly could not live without. We provide them an abundance of information related to phishing, and they share that information quickly with different organizations to help disrupt the activity of phishing globally. Other important partnerships that Group IB works with, we work closely with the NCFTA, which is a US-based organization which is similar to FSISAC, but with a broader membership with non-financial institutions as well. And the NCFTA also collaborates very closely with US law enforcement as well, which is critical, as you heard in previous mentions, to collaborate with law enforcement. We also collaborate with the Merchant Risk Council. This is an organization that focuses on bringing together information about threats to major e-retailers all over the world, and it's really aimed to increase the resiliency in the merchant sector globally. We collaborate with them, we provide information, we do training, and this really helps us to spread the word about the threats we're identifying on different sources to all of the merchants, help them to understand these threats and to mitigate them in real time. Then the GRF, the Global Resiliency Federation, is part of the Information Sharing and Analysis Centers in the US, and they focus specifically on critical infrastructure segment. And as threat actors start to target the critical infrastructure segment and OT networks far more broadly than they have in the past, we've started to collaborate with the GRF more actively in order to provide this organization and their members with data about threat actors that target their various segments in a quick fashion. We also collaborate closely with the Cyber Peace Institute. They're an organization that focuses on protecting nonprofit organizations against cyber threats. So organizations that ultimately will be targeted by nation state actors, but unfortunately are trying to provide basically a public service or help different countries that are in need. The Cyber Peace Institute is basically designed to both investigate and respond to incidents that happen within this nonprofit organization, these nonprofit organizations globally, and we collaborate with them very closely as well. Another incredibly important pillar outside of law enforcement, outside of investigations and attribution of cyber criminals, is really to collaborate with educational institutions globally. Here at Group IB, the average age, I'm old at Group IB, so the average age I think is less than 30. And one of the reasons for that is that we oftentimes have to train the talent that we need for our company because we focus on incident response, cyber threat intelligence, investigations, anti-fraud, many different areas of cybersecurity. It's often, I would say, difficult to hire experts within the industry that have these talents and have these skills. Even sometimes when we go out and potentially pay, high dollar for an experienced threat intelligence analyst, they still don't have the necessary hands-on skills required to actually do the work that we do at Group IB because it's very specialized. And because of that, one of the pillars of Group IB is to actually collaborate very closely with law enforcement to invest our time and energy in the next generation of cybersecurity experts, bring their skills up to a level where we could use them to pass on that knowledge to the future generation. Hopefully they come and work with us after all of that, but if not, that's okay too. So we collaborate very closely with different educational institutions globally. Sometimes we actually deploy, for example, our threat hunting framework in their network in order to have the students have some hands-on experience identifying malware, responding to incidents, etc. We also design curriculum for different educational institutions so that professors can teach our curriculum. And we have some of our experts who devote their time to do presentations themselves to different educational institutions globally. So that hopefully gives you a better understanding of the global mission for Group IB. We have zero tolerance when it comes to cybercrime and cyber criminals. And you can see all of the different areas where we perform collaboration. And hopefully this gives you a better understanding of exactly why we do that. And we hope you join us or have joined us in the fight against cybercrime and cyber criminals. Thank you very much.